And welcome. Hello and welcome to Hazzation, the world at your fingertips. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is a live session brought to you by Hazzation, and today we're going to be talking about, the day and age of Corona and the new normal with the vaccines and masks and stuff like that. So I would like to discuss that the world was a normal place back in 2019. What the fuck can I say? The world was normal 2019, and and then there was like one case in China. Person died of corona. People didn't know what corona was back then. The virus started spreading from country to country, and some people took it as a joke at first. Nobody actually thought it was a real thing. Then 6 months later, the whole world was infected by this virus. So now we're in the new normal, where a vaccine is a must and a mask is a must and precautions and social distancing and stuff like that. So, but there is businesses flourishing. Like, for example, did you know that now there is a booming business about people buying stuff for other people? Like, for example, if you want to buy like a branded bag or a branded watch, you would pay somebody, and they would actually buy the things for you, expensive things, and they would take, I think, 12%, and he would bring the things, the watches or the bags or, the clothes to your doorstep, and basically that's it. Yeah, so, and I remember people delivering the food back when it was lockdown. They made a heaps of money, So yeah. One thing to note: there's many businesses who lost, financial wise, but there is one business that actually thrived, and that is McDonald's, because McDonald's adapted very early on sanitization and stuff like that. It was very evident looking at the food industry. Not many companies actually adapted the precautionary measures before it was required. So yeah, that was one positive note. Apps like delivery apps and stuff like that, I think they were booming. Maybe still now, I don't know, but yeah, it was like in 2020, I guess. Yeah, so recap on that. And I think many people can, develop it was a perfect time to develop a hobby or develop something you love, drawing, podcasting, learning, online learning. Yeah, so it was a vacation for the world, I guess, in some kind of way. And I think it's a good time for rediscovering your talent, who you are, figuring out who you are. Most of us don't know who we are and where we're heading, and it was a good time to ask ourselves these hard questions that normally people don't ask, and frankly they just carry on with their lives, not thinking twice about it. So, this is season number 1, episode number 3, 2021. Hazzation, the world at your fingertips by Zikuzar. And today we're talking about the new normal. I hate to say it, like it's all over the news and all over, YouTube comments, about Corona. But stating the obvious, I guess, And this episode is brought to you by a long friend of mine, John. You know who you are. Anyway, but yeah, no, it's not brought to you by John, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. This guy, yeah, interesting. Anyway, I don't want to talk about him. But he's like I don't know, an online stalker, I guess. Yeah. Which is good, I guess. Yeah, it's good. Also, I think the new semester is up for studying. Yeah. I think learning online or learning at a conventional university is a really nice thing, and it's just good, just good to challenge your intellect and acquire knowledge. And I got a keen fascination for the acquisition of languages. I think languages is, I don't know, I'm fascinated by it. The history of a language, the culture of a language, any language really, European, Asian, when I talked about, for example, the Spanish culture, they, like the priests who were fascinated by the Arabic language. Also, the history of, for example, historical context in the French language, where a prominent student or a very, smart student would know Latin and Greek. And, back, I guess, 800 years ago, the Arabs just did that, They were translating from Latin and Greek, from Aristotle, Plato, and stuff like that. So, down the line, 500 years later, or maybe more, it was like the norm for Europeans to know Latin and Greek, I think it would be a joyful endeavor to, decipher the original work of Plato or Aristotle, and, read them in their original text. Because the thing about language is you can translate something, but it won't be, as many interpreters know, it won't be exactly the same. It'll be just a little bit different, when the translation cuts in. So it's not just, okay, the language. No, it's about even the psychology, the way the person says or utters a phrase or a word or a sentence. That's much different, you have to focus on that too. What does he actually mean, What is he trying to express? So you can, interpret it the right way. Same goes if you're reading the original text of Plato or Aristotle. I understood that when I learned a little bit about the Latin language, there is no phrase for a he or a she. There is I don't they're referring to the people as an, there's an it, and there's an adverb for their so-called goddesses, which I don't frankly agree with at all, but and they have many proverbs like that. So that's like a new, conventional languages. They have he or she or they or, so that is like a new layer that somebody would understand to decipher these kind of pronouns or language. There is And by the way, there is a difference between modern Greek, like modern Greek, people speak it, in Greece right now and in Athens, and ancient Greek. Ancient Greek is, I think that, like the word, like the letters are very similar. There's like a slight difference. I don't think I know. Like they're slightly different. The letters are slightly different, like the Greek, the modern Greek versus the ancient Greek. Many European languages come from Latin, and many languages come from a subgroup called the Indo-European languages. Now, Indo-European languages is not, it's like a big tree, but it doesn't encompass the whole languages of the world. Because, as you may know, there's like 200 languages and 200 nations around the world right now. Every 3 years there's a new nation. So, but yeah, I don't know, every 3 years, I really don't know. But I know that there are 200 right now. Excuse me. Yeah, excuse me. So yeah, okay, yeah. So there's the Asian language. Like for example, if you're looking to study Chinese, I don't know, the way I would do it, I would study Japanese, because Japanese is frankly a refined, more refurbished, or another brand of the Chinese language. That maybe the characters would be different, but originally the Japanese language derived from the Chinese language. So yeah, I know that Chinese is very difficult, but I like I'd love to study the Japanese language first, because I know that there's cultural background, and there is and yeah, about the Japanese, that they're, I think it's much easier to study Japanese and then move to Chinese Mandarin. And as you may know, there is Chinese, like there's traditional Chinese, and there is Mandarin Chinese, which is just simplified. And then you can go on. That is just one example of the Asian language. For example, if you were studying Hindi, it would be easier for you to study Urdu, or vice versa. If you study Urdu, you can study Hindi. But Bangladeshi language is much different. Much different. Much like the Myanmar language, like Burmese. Burmese is a language of its own. It's much like the Greek language. It doesn't derive from Latin. It derives from something else. It's a unique language. Yeah. And then if you study the language that well, there's a wonderful array of accents. So if you actually study French, there is French in the mainland France, and there's French in African countries. There's French in other parts of the world, and the same goes for Spanish. If you study Spanish, in Spain they would speak in a certain way, and maybe I don't know, Chile or Venezuela or Brazil, they would speak in another entirely different accent. So yeah, if you got a real fascination for languages, and if you can distinguish and you can actually speak, or you can actually understand the different accents, that is of itself is a joy, because not only that the language right now, it's that you can actually speak in different accents, and understand in different accents. For example, if you're studying German and you go to Austria, it is German, but they speak a different accent. Much like if you are studying English and you go to a Scottish land, Like the Scots speak in a certain way. It is English, but much different than the usual English, you know. Yeah, I think one of the easiest accent is the Australian accent, you know, like to pick up, especially if you're learning English, and yeah. Language is fascinating, you know. Language is really, really fascinating. So thank you so much for tuning in to this special episode brought to you by Bazooka Bazaar. Hazzation, the world at your fingertips by Bazooka Bazaar. Catch you in the next one. And God bless you all around the world. And last thing to say, I come from one country and I love it. If you're really interested, text me here on multiple platforms. And I'll tell you exactly where I'm from. Thank you so much, and God bless you all around the world. Again, and take care. Bye-bye.